Welcome back to the Coach Business School podcast. This episode is going to be devoted to you, the coach in training, the coach interested or the coach qualified, and your self-development. This is for me the most important topic. It's the reason we come to coaching, not only to help others, but to help ourselves. And for me, this is the most exciting part of being a coach, right? The whole time you get to learn tools, techniques, approaches that fundamentally help you optimize and thrive whilst you're helping others to do the same, as long as you avoid these pitfalls and live the learning. Before we get into it, just a reminder, this episode, as always, is brought to you by the Coach Business School, where I am the founder, the lead coach and trainer for those that want to come on our diploma qualification, which is treble accredited, 6-month diploma that will take you from complete beginner to expert coach. And for those that are already listening to this as accredited coaches, we have a Coach MBA, which is ultimately all about learning more about the business and marketing of coaching to build that thriving coaching practice of your dreams, whether you've got one client, no clients, just thinking about it, or hundreds of clients. The course will make a dramatic impact on the bottom line of your coaching, is its aim. Okay, let's get into today's topic, which is all about self-development for coaches. I'm all over this, like the proverbial. And the reason I am is because that's what coaching's about. If it's not about personal development, what is it about? It's about personal growth. It's about challenging your wonderful, beautiful brain to perform better. It's the greatest gift of coaching. As you learn tools, techniques to help others thrive, you, if you apply those tools, will thrive. Now, here's where I see many coaches doing it wrong. They disassociate themselves from the learning. They think, I'm coming over here to learn about coaching. Therefore, when I'm learning about coaching or I'm doing coaching, I'm leaning into these tools, techniques, reflections, but everywhere else in my life, I'm a different person. That is a mistake. Big mistake. Because the same tools and techniques are applicable to every single domain, element of your wonderful life. That's the whole idea. Coaching doesn't end in the coaching conversation. It's a philosophy for life. It's a way of running your brain so you can spend a lot more time in a friendly universe than a hostile one. The universe is never going to change. But your beliefs about the universe and the way you train your brain can change to put you in a friendly one or keep you in a hostile one. And I say keep you in a hostile universe because the default untrained brain, it defaults and limps back to negativity bias. We've got an inbuilt negativity trait that we've received from our ancestors from all those millennia and millennia ago. Ancestors more wary of a threat would have outlived those that were less wary of a threat. Therefore, we carry that gene pool with us. So the untrained brain, yours, mine, anyone else's that you deal with, defaults largely to the negative. That's why the smallest issue can turn into the greatest catastrophe inside your mind. Or if you're like the brilliant author Mark Twain, who said this, I'm an old man and I've had a great many troubles, most of which never came true. Brilliant saying. I love that. And it's the same with coaching. If you train with me, for example, I put a massive emphasis on coaching people's beliefs. I think this is the most skillful thing that you can do in coaching. Help people challenge their own limiting thinking. Because here's the secret. It's not really ever about outside circumstances. It's really always about internal obstacles. Limiting beliefs, largely. So thinking errors, cognitive biases that have changed a thought into what appears like a fact in someone's mind. And when you help someone through coaching untangle those half-truths, untruths inside their mind, it's transformative. And just to put a little underline on this, is that if you think about it, most people would never ever do that type of reflective work. They would never ever challenge their thinking to that level. And I'm going to say 99.9% of the planet. So what that means is when you are coaching someone and you're helping them unpick those unhelpful beliefs and they come out the other side with a new way of thinking that helps them over their obstacle or achieve their goal, that is transformative. Transformative. And something they never would have experienced on their own. And I think it's important to lean into these factors because that's what makes coaching so powerful. When you're on the receiving end of that as a client or a coachee, or you deliver that as a coach, you know what I'm talking about. You know that actually that hour that you just spent with someone was transformative in their life in a way they never would have got to on their own. That is why coaching is rocket fuel when it's done well. I'd argue there's two levels broadly to coaching. There's the real foundational level, which is grow, model, options and ways forward, which is wonderful, right? And a necessary structure to coaching. I totally get it. But when it's too light at that level, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, I think you end up with options to achieve a goal or options to overcome an obstacle. That's how we work through the grow model. And I would argue largely, at times, the client probably could have come up with many of those ideas themselves. Therefore, not huge value in coaching at that stage. Option 1, 2, 3, they probably, if they'd got a pen and paper out and taken that same hour and reflected on the obstacle, the goal they were trying to achieve, they probably would have come up with the same list. Therefore, you might argue, is there lots of value in that type of coaching? Well, there is when a coach holds the space and allows them to think more deeply and explore their mind more deeply, very often through those silences, through those anything else. Great question, by the way. You help your clients get to a deeper level. And in that deeper level, they might find option 4 and 5 they never would have got to on their own. So that straight away, even at a really foundational level of coaching, is why it's so impactful. Because very often option 4 and 5 is where all the gold is they never would have got to themselves. Tick. But that's not my level of coaching. When you go deeper with coaching, and I urge you to do the same, this is about self-development for you, but I'm talking about you and coaches, you and your clients to get the message across. When you then hold the space and do all those wonderful things around grow model and options and whatnot and allow them space to go deeper, maybe they get to option 4 and 5, transformative already. But then when you challenge their beliefs, their thinking, those thinking traps, biases, flaws inside their mind, that they've taken thoughts and turned them into facts that are causing them anguish, pain, preventing them achieving their dreams or their goals, or getting in the way of or creating the obstacles that are in their life. When you challenge that thinking through coaching, that is another massive tick box of transformation they never would have got to on their own. Think about it. It's huge. This is massive, the potential in this. This is why when it's done well, coaching is transformative. You have to look at it like that. Your clients would never do this work on their own. They get in a room with you, they do this work, it's transformative. If it gets too sort of level 1-ish and it's just a few options, maybe there's no big difference. But when it's option 4, 5 plus challenging beliefs, it's transformative. This is how you get incredible results. That's why coaching is so valuable. Now let's spin it around. That's why it's so valuable for you as well. That's the point I'm trying to get across. For you to challenge your own thinking, as it were, and keep an eye out and weed that garden of your mind. Love that metaphor. Weed that garden of your mind. The thing that gets in the way sometimes of you really blossoming as a coach, or having the courage to start this coaching adventure, or taking your coaching practice, from level 1 to level 5. Very often it's the same obstacles that your clients are facing. It's a thinking trap rather than a reality. And this is so important to remind yourself that. So I urge you all, and this is getting straight into the eye of elite self-development for you as potential coaches, qualified coaches, to constantly weed the garden of your mind. Get some coaching as well while I'm at it. All of our coaches are still able to coach each other in our Coach Business School organization. When you're in those practice arenas, bring that real world challenge that you might have around your thinking that's holding you back in terms of, taking your coaching business to the next level, or even thinking about joining such an organization as Coach Business School, because it's our minds that trip us up. So let's just own a fact. And this is a great fact. If you are going to become a coach, you are a coach. If anyone is talking about the future, it's made up. Can we own that together in this conversation? You and I. If we're talking about the future, it's made up. Now, you might make an argument and go, well, I sort of know this is going to happen and that's going to happen. But do you? Can you be 100% certain? Of course you can't. The future is the future. Anything could happen. Any curveball could come from anywhere. And you tend to find this with clients all the time. They talk about the future like it's a fact. Oh, I can't do that because so-and-so will say this. How do you know that? Just curious. Can you see into the future? Well, no. Challenge people's thinking. If it's in the future, it's made up. I know it's made up because it's in the future. So I know I'm on a really strong footing as a coach to challenge that type of thinking if it's getting in the way, because I know for a fact it is made up. And it's the same for you as well. If your thinking is about the future, that too is made up. And back to something I said earlier, we have an inbuilt negativity bias. So most of our made up things in the future are not the best case scenarios. They're the worst case scenarios, the crash and burn, the rejection, the I'm not good enough kind of stories. And then we own them like they're a fact. They are not a fact. They're in the future. So when I'm coaching, that is on my radar all the time. Anyone's in the future talking about it like it's a fact, I'm challenging that thinking. Unless it's beneficial, of course, then I don't mind leaving it in there. But if it's getting in the way, let's challenge that thinking. Do the same for you. Whether that's you thinking about becoming a coach, you're part way through your training, or you're thinking about growing a coaching practice business. I will hear this all the time. Here's a good example from our MBA course just recently. Someone said, well, there's no point me speaking to that person because, they're not interested in coaching. Or there's no point me speaking to that person, they'll never go for this. How do you know? Oh, I just know. But how do you know? Where's your evidence for that? Oh, well, when I've spoke to them in the past about other things not related to coaching, they've been really dismissive. Okay, so how does that mean they won't go for coaching or they won't be interested in coaching? Do you have all the evidence for that? No, you just made that up. It's the truth. It's a guess. And the worst type of guess is a guess that shuts you down from ever trying, right? The guess says, don't bother. Give up. What's the point? Whereas when you train your brain, and don't forget you're going to be doing this with your clients all the time, when you train your brain better, self-development for coaches, what's a better belief you could choose about that given scenario? And that's a reflective question for you. I'll answer it from my mind and the way that I'd suggest that you think about it. But again, it has to be your thoughts, not mine. What's a better belief about that same scenario? The better belief about that same scenario is, actually, I've got no idea if they're going to be interested in this or not. Maybe in the past they've showed some disinterest, but I've never had a conversation with them about coaching. Therefore, what have I got to lose? And maybe they are disinterested, but maybe they aren't. I'll never know unless I try. Right? Much better belief. Really simple level, but you get the point. Self-development for coaches. If you're going to challenge your clients' thinking, you have to challenge your own. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts of coaching, but also what makes it quite hard, right? I don't want to own this for you all listening, that you lose a lot of life's wiggle room. So I'll say that again. You lose a lot of life's wiggle room to underperform, to give up, to shy away, to slink back into the shadows, to stay in your comfort bubble. Well, I'm afraid to tell you, when you come on this coaching adventure, you step onto the less worn path, which creates the most gorgeous adventure of life, because you'll catch your own stinking thinking. You'll catch your own BS when you're thinking in the future and treating it like a fact. And what it does, it makes you so much more courageous. It doesn't mean it's easy, because the easiest place to stay is in your comfort zone. And, fair play, stay in your comfort zone all you like. Too many people do. And you know what? They limp out of life. Not stimulated, not fulfilled, lacking meaning, lacking purpose. They just tried to play everything safe for fear of getting it wrong. And they've allowed their untrained brains to keep them trapped. But we're different. We are completely different as coaches. We've seen on the other side of that comfort zone the joys, the gifts, the challenges, the excitement, the vibrancy, the meaning, the purpose that comes from helping people get outside their comfort zone, over their obstacles, achieve their goals. So it's the same for us. But it does mean there's less places to hide, because you can't hide inside your own mind, because you can see it a mile off. When you're talking about the future as if it's a fact, you start to catch yourself out. Then you have to train yourself to have better beliefs, which means you have to get outside your comfort zone and approach that person in your organization to talk to them about coaching, because you can't dismiss it like you wanted to do with the untrained brain and go, they're not interested, because now you've just made something up in the future that's fundamentally not true, because it's in the future. Therefore, you have to take action. This is the gift. And then multiply that over the whole entirety of your life. I mean, I've just given you one tiny example there. All of that stinking thinking, whatever it might be, that trap that gets so frustrated over the small things in life because you're fighting with reality, you're making up stories about the past. What's the point? You learn just to let these things go. You smile more. You become more resilient. You don't get wrapped up or sweat the small things. This is the greatest gift. And then let's step into the second part of this episode and conversation. Then you get a chance to set goals for you. Goals that will challenge you. Goals that will light you up. Goals that might lead to meaning and purpose. A career of joy, contribution, wonder for all those coaches. The big, hairy, audacious goals. I will do a specific episode on coaches' goals as well. Keep your ears and eyes peeled for that. That will come out just around the turn of the year because it's a great time to set our goals. Although the real skillful professionals are setting goals all the time. But let's use the start of the year as a great place to set some new goals. But back to my point. My point is this. You know the power of goals because you're a coach. You understand that when we make an emotional connection to a goal, it's like serendipity. We start to see people, places, resources we need to achieve that goal. It's one of the magics of coaching. We help people make really clear cut goals and then an emotional connection to that goal and then let the universe to do a lot of work. That's not woo, it's just skill. It's skillful, right? Because our brain can only filter in so much information. Therefore, if it doesn't know what your goals, objectives are, how does it know what information to show you? So it's the same for your clients. So when you help them get really clear on those vision and build that emotional connection around that goal, when you're not in the room, they start to see the people, the places, the resources, and they come back to you in the second session, third session, fifth, whatever it is session. As if by magic, they're like, you'll never believe what just happened. I bumped into this long lost friend who happens to hold the keys to my goal. Happens all the time. The universe is doing the work for you. Very often, all the answers are there. You just got to tune your brain into it. Now, again, live the learning. You believe this. You coach it. So make sure that you are also setting really clear, targeted goals so your brain is switched on to the opportunities that await you, the people, the places, the resources you need to achieve those goals. That might be in your coaching business. That might be to transform your career. That might be to start that podcast, write that book, to live that life of freedom and purpose and run a coaching business from the beach. If that's the case, get that out in the open and focus intently on it. I do this all the time. I have my goals and I put them where I can see them. This morning, I was staring at a blackboard, and on that blackboard are 2 or 3 huge goals for me into 2026 and beyond. I'm talking whopping great big, hairy, audacious goals that I will share with you in that New Year episode. And they are as big as they could possibly get because I understand the game. The game is switching your brain onto it. So, in summary, for our conversation today, your self-development is so incredibly important. You hold the keys to the most wonderful, vibrant life because you hold the keys to your beautiful brain. In learning the skills, the tools, the techniques to coach others, you just apply that to thyself. Check your thinking. Weed that beautiful garden of your mind constantly and continually. Set incredible goals that are going to light your life up for the balance of your time on this planet. And then allow the universe to do its thing whilst weeding that garden of your mind, so improving your resilience and your mental strength, and anything and everything is possible. Ultimately, you get to live in a friendly universe rather than a hostile one, a life of joy and contribution. No matter what's whizzing around in the atmosphere or that universe around us, you get to show up and shine this incredible, joyful light. That is the gift of coaching. And I think as coaches, we owe it to the universe to put that message out into the world. We are not perfect. None of us ever will be. But by doing the work on ourselves, we radiate a new light. This is the gift, in my opinion, of coaching. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation today. My name's Andy Ramage. I'm your trainer, your coach, your guide, potentially. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Please do share it. Share it with another coach if you know one, or someone that might be interested in coaching, to get them excited about the adventure that we're on, because I think it's the greatest gift ever. And if you want to know more, go to coachbusiness.school. There you'll see my courses, the diploma courses, which is all about learning to become a coach. And then for those accredited coaches, my MBA, which is all about the business and marketing side of coaching. Until next time, keep coaching. Let's do this. Your coach, Andy.